Well, Chris Robershaw is joining us here, and he always got something to talk about, which is lovely. So I always say, feel free, because it's like two grumpy old men talking. But no, seriously, I know this is quite close to your heart, this one about sewerage. Comes under MU, doesn't it, control as such. And it appears that there's going to be quite a bid for extra money to be asked for these extra sewerage works. I was talking about Peel here and Laxey and all these ones who aren't on the Miri Vague system.
I don't think I'll let you down. I really will be grumpy over this.
Oh, really? Good. Yeah. No, but how much are they asking for extra? What's going on?
Well, look, let's just step back for a second. All your listeners will be well aware that the Isle of Man has a dreadful record of overspending on major projects. Do you remember the proposed harbour strategy that asked for 80 million, which fell down, proven to be ridiculous? The huge increase in costs at the ferry terminal in Liverpool, extra costs on the promenade and so on. In other words, everybody, including everybody in government, accepts the fact that we can't control our capital projects. Anything remotely near an acceptable level.
Yeah, but doesn't that go on everywhere, though? Everyone's always saying one price, it always comes in more. I mean, isn't that just a fact of life, though?
It's to the degree that we've failed. No, come on, Paul, no. So what we've got here is a proposal to go in front of Tynwald this July, Tynwald, 18th, 19th of July, something like that, asking to increase the available funds for the regional works from 23 million up to 40. And
sorry, almost double then, basically.
Yeah, almost double. And I think you may recall that I've got a pretty deep background in trying to understand and analyse what's been going wrong with the proposed sewage works. When I was part of the Environment Infrastructure Policy Review Committee, we did a full report and then a review, I think, as I recall. So I hope it might be accepted that I've got a pretty good grasp of this. Well, I was very surprised when I looked at the proposed order paper to see that there's a massive increase, and so I pulled off from the Tynwald website the explanatory memorandum to go before Tynwald members for them to either accept or refute the increased costs. And quite honestly, and I say this in all seriousness, I've never seen a worse explanatory paper to be submitted to Tynwald members. And if in my view, the MU are holding the members of Tynwald in complete contempt in submitting such a poor paper for them to consider such a significant increase. And remember that members of Tynwald represent the people of the Isle of Man. Now, the MU is a monopoly, and here we have a monopoly coming to Tynwald showing complete contempt for the elected representatives and therefore their customers in asking for this money, because the memorandum, the explanatory memorandum, is poor. It's scandalously poor. I believe it's misleading and extremely selective. In other words, it's economical with the truth.
Okay, so this should be...
Is Tynwald going to accept something as
this should be an explanation of where the extra money is going to be required for, is it? Is that what they're going to meant to be laying out?
Well, why? There's two big areas. There's three areas for us to consider here. There's the cost of the remaining projects, its environmental suitability, and then the accountability of the MU, and all three need to be considered.
Where are they up to? Because forgive me for
right.
Laxey has been off and on and didn't. Okay, proposals. Do you go through those?
Let's look at the. No, we won't go into. There's only so much detail we can do here.
But you're Peel and Laxey, right?
This is about Laxey and Peel. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Got that.
It's about putting local sewage works in both,
because they're pumping out to sea, aren't they?
Both places. Wait a minute. You mustn't jump about too much, please. Nice.
I get told what to do. I love it.
Nicely, please. Yeah. So the point is that this proposal comes before Tynwald on the basis that this is settled policy, that will have regional sewage works in Laxey and Central Valley and Peel. I think it's important to remember that in the first place, when MU brought the regional works to Tynwald, it was brought because it was on the review point. It was Tynwald went for it because MU argued that it was cheaper.
Cheaper than?
Cheaper than going to Meriveg.
Oh, okay.
So time goes by, the house changes, lots of new people come in who aren't familiar with this, and they say, with regard to set policy, agreed Tynwald policy, to go regional for Peel and Laxey, we now want to increase the money from 23 to 40. In other words, the very thing that they got the agreement for regional works for in the first place has now been overridden by them completely reinventing the costs. That's the first point. The second point is that they argue erroneously in this poor explanatory memorandum that environmentally it's better. Well, it may not actually be cheaper after all. That's what they're effectively saying. But environmentally it's better. The answer to that is no, it isn't. It really isn't. Let's just go back to again, first principles. In this paper, they infer that this will have us comply with the 2006 bathing water standards. No, it won't. Why is it acceptable to put regional in Ramsey but not in Peel and Laxey? The simple fact of the matter is that the outflow is in Ramsey is well away from Ramsey itself. Okay, so the north one is well away. Here we've got a fundamental problem that the outflow pipes into Laxey Bay and into Peel Bay are very, very short. Yeah. Now, the 2006 standards require that your outflow pipe goes at least a mile out to sea, away from the leisure beach or leisure area you're concerned with. So if they did that, if they did what they're supposed to do, which is massively extend both outflow pipes, it becomes impossibly more expensive to stay regional, so they won't do it. What they actually did, extraordinarily, and this is scandalous, in the last house, the one I was in, they slipped right at the end a confusing regulation which stated that actually the measured area that needs to be protected isn't a mile, but 50 metres. Okay. Think about that.
Can I just get something clear? Surely, in my little head, this is all going to be cleaned up sewage. So what they'll be pumping out will be beautifully clean. So
no, it won't. No.
So it would pass. If that was in my little head, if you're pumping out good stuff, then you would pass the blue flag or whatever else.
No, there's two.
Terms, right?
There's two. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, for a number of reasons. First of all, because the outflow pipe in Peel and in Laxey is very close to the shore.
So whatever they're still going to pump out will not be good stuff.
It will never, ever comply. So how dare they say or suggest in their wording, as they do in this explanatory note, that it will? No, it won't. Right. But IRBCs, by the way, that's the units that they intend to put, are now understood to release through them around about 10 to 15% in fecal matter that isn't captured, right? So you could work out the numbers for that as to what will continue to be pumped out in close proximity to the beach. On top of that, the latest North and West area plan specifically says that it's the intention of the MU to pump leachate from Raggett Tip out through the sewage works in Peel, and the pretence is that the biological sewage works in Peel will be able to treat the PCBs. Actually, that's not true. So not only are we going to have a ridiculously short outflow pipe that is going to continue anyway to release a certain amount of fecal matter, but we're also going to have PCBs. But on top of that, because you've got the outflow pipe where it is, you're going to see, every time there's a storm surge, you're going to see pure sewage go out. Now, do you know, for example, that because the Douglas section's not working the way it should be, they installed, instead of putting the correct pumping station in, they put an overflow facility in the river immediately close to Douglas Bay. And that released measurably 66 sewage surges into the Douglas area in the last time they measured, as far as I know, was 2019. That was provided under an FOI. So you've got three things that are going to happen in Peel. First of all, totally inadequate outflow pipe distance. 2, certain amount of matter getting through the works anyway. 3, storm surge sewage, and 4 PCBs. Now, that can be eradicated if you pump back to Merivale.
I was going to say, is that what you would suggest then?
What I want to see happen is, if the argument is that in the first instance that it was cheaper to go regionally for Peel and Laxey, and that's now been disproved, okay, then that should be examined. Secondly, if in the explanatory paper they genuinely say that environmentally it's better to go regional, that needs to be examined. Now, it brings into question, go back to my first comment, that this business about mishandling capital projects, why at a very fundamental level is this happening? This is happening because departments, or in this case a board, are in control of the project, apply their own consultants, and the information they then submit to the elected representatives is selective according to their desires and requirements. Consultants
will always find whatever the paymasters want, I guess. You're trying to say, isn't it?
Well, in this,
to some degree anyway.
In this particular case, listen to this. The consultant used, I think around about 2000, prior to 2018, was an organisation called Barber Associates. And they reviewed the original decision to go regional. What was not fully explained was originally the person in charge of Barber Associates who worked for the original company, Mutual Apartment, who were the people who devised the regional concept in the first place. And I'm sure in Tynwald at the time, I used the phrase, this is somebody marking their own exam results. Examination.
You may say, and allegedly, there's a conflict of interest. Then, would you say?
Well, allegedly, there was.
Okay.
There was, and there's been.
Oh, you said on me.
Not allegedly. There was. So, I mean, what contempt MU are showing to the people of the Isle of Man? We're in charge of this. We'll decide. We'll choose the consultants, and we'll choose consultants who were originally involved, and we're supposed to accept that.
But this thing about pumping it all back to Merivale just seems to be a very expensive option, isn't it? I mean, well, this is not
real
solution.
Let's refer again back to the explanatory paper, and this is all they say. This is all the poor Tynwald members are going to get. I'll read it.
Well, they get.
Let me read it.
You go first. Go.
An option to pump away to Merivale has been evaluated and is rejected on the basis of excessive capital and revenue cost and higher environmental impact. Right. So where's the proof of that? Where's the data? Where's the information? That will not be made available. I believe somebody's asked for it.
Oh, I see. They're just simply saying that you want to see the data on how much it's going to cost.
I believe, and I'm open to challenge on this one, I believe they said, oh, well, this is commercially confidential. You know that phrase?
Yeah.
Commercial confidentiality. Why? What an insult to the members of Tynwald. Yeah. I tell you what, if they pass this, it will make a laughing stock of Tynwald. Let me say that.
Yeah. This comes under Rob Collister's watch, will it be?
Well,
will he be the one?
I'm surprised, Rob. I am actually stunned that Rob Collister's bringing this forward because, let me take you back. Rob Collister was on the Environment and Infrastructure Policy Review Committee with me that originally looked at all these proposals and found them flawed all over the place, as is this explanatory note. So what does Rob think he's doing? Has he had a sort of a mental blockage on what happened before? Or is he simply doing as he's told?
Don't you think there's a likelihood that they'll get a presentation? Because that's what usually goes along with just those briefing notes.
By whom? By the MU, who will give them selective information.
You've been in these briefing places before.
I'm telling you, they'll give them
selective. They won't just get that, will they? They'll have something more.
Look, there's a fundamental flaw in this whole process, which is why we keep overspending on our capital project. There's no truly independent assessment of these projects coming forward. They're emanating from the wrong place in the first instance, and then they're not been subject to independent review.
What do you want then? Is that what you say? Basically, here we need an independent.
I don't think that Tynwald in July should either accept or refuse this. They should simply say, "This is a miserable, inadequate, misleading paper, and we, the Tynwald members representing the people, cannot accept it, and What we want to do is we want to hold it over the summer, and while that process is going on, let's have a thoroughly independent review. I don't mean a public inquiry, too expensive and too long-winded, and incidentally, I do not expect it should be referred to a policy review committee, because a policy review committee has not got the funds necessary to dive deep into the failures in this miserable presentation. A competent engineer, clearly independent, could very quickly say, well, that's not right, that's wrong, that's a misrepresentation, that doesn't tell the truth.
Okay, I mean, what you're saying, I can't imagine...
That wouldn't slow anything down.
I can't imagine Tynwald members, if you're saying this is all they're going to get, would be very happy about it anyway, are they? I mean, they'd be asking for 20-odd million extra, are they?
Well, I'm not
on a briefing note. I mean, that's what I'm saying, there must be something else.
But there's no argument contrary to it that they've got access to. Okay. They're being denied the truth. And if this is what they're doing now, eventually, by the way, this will be, looked at historically if ridiculously it's passed, and people will say, well, did we really agree to that? How did that happen?
But everything that's put off just goes up in price again anyway, regardless. So you're going to, what's going to be 40-odd million this year, might be another 20 on that.
Well, let me just tell you that the environmental cost of going this way is just horrendous. And the MU are relying on one thing now, and it's this, that people of Laxey and Peel are utterly exasperated by the failures to get sewage works put in, and they're going to say, or are presumably saying, for goodness sake, do something about this disastrous situation. This is something, let's do it. But
in Laxey they have tried all sorts of options, and everyone's come back. It's usual, I don't want it, thank you, in my back garden, and move it somewhere else. And there have been vibration issues, and you name it, trucks and new bridges and all sorts in Laxey. I mean, they've tried, I don't know how many years that's been going on, and all the time they keep pumping it out to sea, don't they?
Yeah, and if they'd gone to Meriveg in the first place, this would all be history and not a worry.
Well, Rob Colliser, if you want to talk to us about this one, just to give
I'll sit and talk to him about it.
Oh, well, that'd be good, actually. Yeah, we can. Why not have a little debate if you want to? That'd be fantastic. But in the meantime, you clearly are a man of passion, and that's good. And you're retired, but you know how all these things work. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know how this is likely to go through or not go through.
I have a deep background on this subject, and I felt it was a duty of care to say this is the most miserable explanatory memorandum I have ever seen.
And that's saying something, no doubt, in your time.
Isn't it just? It's a disgrace. A real, true disgrace. Okay. Scandalous.
Well, thank you. I love talking to you. We'll have more on this, and that's the thing. It's the awareness thing now. You've raised it into public awareness, so that's going to be interesting to see what we.
Well, let's see if Tynwald's going to be tame over this, or they're going to exercise some challenge. Because, come on, it's about time they showed some real challenge here. And I would be amazed. I don't know one way or the other. I'd be amazed if Comin have accepted this paper already. Did Comin accept this submission?
You're missing politics. I can see this. But you're happy to just be on the sidelines on this one and
look,
I've
done my best to bring it to people's attention. Yeah. I've told the truth. Yeah. I demand that others do, and I hope and expect Tynwald says enough of this. Let's get the truth out.